Today on Dub World, I'm replacing an alternator on a 2001 Volkswagen Eurovan camper. The tools you'll need for this job include a 3/8 inch ratchet, 13mm socket, 10mm socket, a T30 Torx bit, a small pry bar or large screwdriver, an 8mm with a 1.25 metric thread bolt to release the serpentine belt tensioner, and you may also need a small pick tool to release the alternator electrical plug, a socket extension bar for removing the belly pan, and a 15/16 socket to remove the alternator pulley. If your battery terminal needs cleaning, you'll also need a battery terminal cleaning tool. I'm going to try to get this alternator changed out before this storm hits. So the first thing that you need to do is disconnect the negative battery cable. When you pull this cable off, it's just simply a 10mm nut on top to loosen it. And you want to make sure you get the cable out of the way so it doesn't hit the battery while you're working. This does need to be removed whenever you're changing the alternator. As you see here, I've already removed the 3 Torx screws that hold the top engine cover on. Next up, you're going to want to release the tension on the belt for the alternator. This is done by inserting an 8mm by 125mm thread bolt into the top of the tensioner. There's a hole there that's easy to find. Bolt needs to be at least 1 inch long at the threads. So I'm going to see if I can hold the camera. Put this in at the same time. You're not going to be able to see it as I'm doing this because my arm's in the way. But what you do is you get that in. It's really easy. It's right on top here. No problems. If you have to replace this tensioner unit, pretty easy as well. This one's been replaced. As you can see there, I've got the bolt threaded in. And you just need to turn it until the tension's released. So we're going to do that. We're going to move to the bottom of the van. All right, so the first thing you're going to need to do underneath is you're going to need to remove the lower belly pan, the steel skid plate that protects everything underneath here. Already taken that off because I had to. There's a couple of mounts on the back, as you can see right there. One on each side, 10mm, and then you've got ones that mount up here, 13mm. You've got 2 there, and then it just clips in the front. I'm sorry, right there's the clip, and it pulls down. You want to be careful; it could fall down on you. So as you can see here with the tensioner, got the belt loosened. It's not all the way loose yet, but I'll be finishing that off, and then I'll be removing the alternator. Gotta disconnect the wires first. There's 2 bolts there, one there, one there. And you can see here you've got your lines: power steering, air conditioning, power steering. Before you go ahead and take the belt off, please note the position that it's in. How it loops underneath here, goes around there. These bolts to hold the alternator in are 13mm and shouldn't be too difficult to get out, as you can see here. Alright, the other issue you're likely going to have is you're going to have to pry the alternator out. I used a pry bar here. It's still locked in up there. Because if it's never been changed before, it's going to be really tight. On the other side, you have your electrical connections, and you can see here that, oops, sorry, this piece here is supposed to be mounted right here, and it's not. That's holding the wiring in place, so I'll be fixing that. But there is a main wire right here, and you've got your electrical connection up here. So both of these have to come out. I've loosened the alternator, but the bolts are still in there. I'll be unplugging these, then I'll pull it out. You can hear the thunder in the background. All right, there's always got to be something fun. So this electrical connection here, trying to unplug, I can't see it, how it connects. I can feel a lever back there. Not sure if I have to push it in, pull it out, squeeze it, trying all the different things. Haven't got it off yet, but as soon as I do, I'll let you know. I ran into some difficulty getting the plug off and also getting the alternator loose before it started raining. It's just starting to sprinkle right now, so I'm gonna take a break and see if this passes over and see what we got here. All right, well, after a little finagling, was able to get that plug undone on the other side. Got the bolts out here and prying the alternator. Got it pried out of the bottom. Still got to get it pried out of the top so we can pull it out of here. Got my little crowbar, gonna do that. And the rain just sprinkled and stopped, so we're good to go. And we'll take it from there. Is this original alternator is actually a 90 amp. So we were debating that this was supposed to be a 150, but after looking at this, that's some new news. Now you can see the VW Audi emblem here, so this does appear to be the original alternator. Well, upon closer inspection of the alternators, do you see the issue here? Can you see the original pulley versus the replacement? I think it's pretty obvious that there is a difference in these two. Look at the difference there. So this one, the belt is actually thicker than the pulley itself. So there's no way this would work. Even if this distance from here to here were the same as this one, wouldn't work. So no matter what, it has to be changed. So that's the next step. Well, here are the two pulleys side by side. As you can see, it's way different. And this will give you a close-up of where the belt would ride, and you can see the original one is wider, not only where the belt rides, but also the overall width. So looks like the original pulley will fit fine on the new alternator. So I'm swapping that out now. You can see here, right there, and we'll see if everything lines up once I put that on. So here's the old pulley on the new alternator. Everything looks fine. So if anybody out there in video land can tell me what this is for, this alternator is supposed to fit the Golf, Jetta, Eurovan, but apparently not. Could be a situation of VR6 versus a 2.0. Maybe that's it. So if anybody out there knows for sure, let me know. And if anybody needs a new pulley, let me know. Okay, I just wanted to show you guys the plug here for the alternator. Now this was, as you recall, very difficult to unplug. There it is there. Let's see. So ultimately, I was able to get a little tool in here and get this unlatched. But that was the worst part of removing it, was actually this plug. So my concern with the new alternator, or one of the concerns, were these spacers in here, because they were actually sticking pretty far out, and I knew that it was not going to rest properly in the bracket here. But as soon as I started torquing this down, it actually started pulling this spacer in. So I think everything will be okay. And I'm just going to tighten the other one down and we'll go from there. After you get your belt back on and release the tension on the tensioner, you need to reinstall the belly pan. Double check and make sure everything is attached properly, and then move up top and replace your engine cover. Again, in the back here, it just slips underneath, and the front screws down with the torque screws. And then, of course, reconnecting your battery. You want to make sure that your terminals are clean and everything is tight. If terminals are not clean, you can get a tool from any auto parts store, clean the terminals, make sure there's no corrosion on there. So once you get everything back together, you can go ahead and start up your van, and then you can do a test at the battery to see what kind of voltage the alternator is putting out. So we're looking at my voltmeter here, which is connected to the battery. So this is what the charge off the alternator is showing, right around 14 volts. It's been hovering between 13.96 and a little over 14. This is with nothing on, no air conditioning, no radio, no lights. When I had the accessories on, it dropped the voltage considerably, which I was not happy with. Let me show you what my cigarette lighter voltmeter shows. This is the output when we're just idling, barely over 12 volts, which is not good. Driving, we're fine, but idling with the air on. Let's see if we turn the air off. Let's rev it up. I think the highest we've hit driving has been 14, but it's usually 13.8. Turn the air on. Look at that. That's a huge drop for just turning on the air. So what are my thoughts on this? I purchased this alternator for $75 on Amazon.com. Quality appeared to be good. The reviews were good. The only issue we had was having to swap the pulley. Other than that, everything went well. But we're left with an alternator that's not performing as it should. So I know some of you are already saying, hey, he got what he paid for. But you know what? Shouldn't we have an expectation that every part we purchase actually work as advertised? I think we should. Now granted, a $75 part should probably not perform the same as a $400 part. You would think the $400 part would be better quality, maybe have a longer warranty, but both of them should work. And this is exactly why I created this channel. There are so many opportunities out there. And I know for those of you that like to do it yourself and fix your own vehicle, you go online and you look up parts and you find dozens of choices. And the price range runs from incredibly cheap to incredibly expensive. And it's frustrating because you don't know which is good, which is bad. I bought higher dollar parts that were really crappy. I bought lower dollar parts that were really good. I check reviews on everything if I can. Obviously, like most people, I'm on a budget, so I try to get the best quality part for the least amount of money. Sometimes I don't have reviews on parts, and I just kind of pick something in the middle. In the situation with the van, I need to get it fixed. I was able to get this quickly and cheaply from Amazon. Now, I may end up having to replace it based on these numbers. If that's the case, I'll be looking elsewhere. If you have any feedback, any recommendations, please put a comment in the video. I really appreciate you taking the time to come here and watch the videos. Please like, subscribe, share the channel. The more this gets out, the more people it can help, and we can grow together. Thank you so much, and I look forward to showing you something new soon.